Hello, folks. Lindsay Huddleston with Sports Psychology Solutions back in the building in my hometown, Detroit, Michigan, off 7 Mile Road in Myers at Tyndall Recreation Center, a staple in the community. But another staple in the community is this young man I'm sitting next to, very, very close friend for many years, dating back to our days at Western Michigan University up until now, Mr. Jimmie Sanders of Small Basketball University, SBU. What's going on, man?
I'm good, Lindsay, man. It's been a pleasure. I've just been doing my thing in the community, giving back, making sure that these kids have somewhere to go on Saturdays and Sundays and sometime throughout the week.
Right. This is the first time I've been in this gym with you, and it's been empty all the time. There's some kids up and down the court. You got community events going on inside. You're feeding breakfast to the young people. We finally had a minute to just sit and talk. So tell me where things have gone since we sat down about a year ago over at Crystal Ray when you were kind of launching this to where you are right now.
Actually, the progress started out with 2 kids. Then you have about 200 or 300 that has gone through the program.
Wow.
From there, they've learned, of course, I teach them a form of sports psychology. Of course, you're not there, but I made sure that I implemented a program.
About the mental part.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the personal training, which is from Toby Tansel from Phase Forward. Mm-hmm. And then you have my portion of it, which is the skills training. So it's 4 different parts of it. You have the McDonald's breakfast from Jam Jomar. Mm-hmm. They have the McDonald's on Linwood and Davidson. And that's for this community over here for Tyndall and 7 Mile, and on Springwells in Southwest Detroit, where I do it on small basketball on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. They provide breakfasts for the Crystal Ray program.
Crystal Ray, which you're affiliated with, right?
Yes, I am one of the assistant basketball coaches over there, the associate head coach under Brandon Peoples.
Yeah, Peoples.
He's the AD as well as the head coach. Mm-hmm. He's we're taking that program to a whole nother level now.
Definitely. Well, Jimmie, since the time we've known each other, you've had an entrepreneurial spirit. How important is that entrepreneurial spirit as it works to developing SBU and, bringing in those other businesses to support you? How important is that?
Well, one thing that I've learned is you have to put your own money up first. And it's kind of like you teach the guys or the younger guys, like my assistant coaches, that you put your money and your time up first, and other people will see your effort. Mm-hmm. Then they'll come out and help you. Sometimes you have to put it all on the line to get where you have to go, and that's what I did when I started out. I put my own money up. Once they saw me investing in myself, people like McDonald's, people like Witch, people like my godbrother Horatio Williams.
Shout out to H.
Yeah, nothing that, like, if I call him, I might be the only person that he might pick up the phone for if he's laying in the bed. Right. So it's like he see my work within the community, and being the president of Youth Volunteer Corps back when I was 14 or 15, being on TV back then and giving back and traveling around the country, I just learned how to give back to my community, and that's where I met Miss Lawton growing up, who owns and runs Tyndall, Mariah Lawton. She was over DPS Middle School Athletics. She's now retired. She brought me in as an assistant coach and taught me the game, and she gave me my first coaching job too. So she taught me the entrepreneurial game in the spirit of working within a work setting, but doing your own thing. Right.
I want to touch on something you said early on about investing in yourself, putting your own money up, and I totally agree 100% as a business owner myself. But I think there's this mindset out here with people saying, oh, spend other people's money. And I found when I was in corporate America, and when I would get my corporation to write checks for events, at the end of the day, it wasn't my money, it was their money. And if it's their money, it's their agenda. And I think what people have to realize along the lines of what you're doing, when you make that investment in yourself, you control the narrative. It's your agenda. And I think you get to a point as a man, period, where you say, or a woman, that you say, look, I want it my way, and I'm willing to do that. So I think that's really important that you put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, and like I create my own agendas every weekend for SBU, and that allows me to utilize my time. The first things first with me is time is worth more than money. And within that, if you implement
time is worth more than money.
Yeah, when you implement your system, what you create, then you set the boundaries of how long you have to be someplace. And yes, I've received checks from like corporate America, and that's the reason why I don't utilize grants, because you utilize a grant, you have to literally go by what they set for you. Correct. And where you have to spend the money at. So why not put my own money up and just invest within myself? I mean, I have a great team behind me, you know.
And there's a for-profit side to this work too, as well,
yes,
right? Great.
Yes.
And an interesting thing you said about grants is because in many cases you may get a grant, but if you don't get that grant renewed, you've created infrastructure that you can't support.
Right.
And then also to your point, whoever the grant is from, you know, God bless them, there's those stipulations that may be contrary to what you're working towards or what you're trying to do.
Yeah. So it's basically like as I put up my own time and money, I'm able to put my own banners up with my name on it, put my own logos on the t-shirts that I purchase or the jerseys that I purchase, along with reaching out to like I always say, relationships is worth more than anything as well. So my relationship with people allow me to maneuver in the way that I want to maneuver. It is so difficult. It's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, leg work, tears, blood, sweat that goes on the ground that people don't see. You know what I'm saying? I could walk through a puddle full of tears that I've
that you didn't put out there.
Yeah, that I done put out.
But Jimmie, to your credit, and this is not to be patronizing, it's something about your personality, how you connect with people, how we've had this relationship for, you know, a few decades going back is just, you know, I think you're very authentic. You know, and I think that's really challenging because so many people feel that being authentic is not good as being vulnerable. But with that vulnerability, you draw people in and people know your story. And then going back to another point, too, staying with that theme about you investing in yourself, betting on yourself. Sometimes you got to finance a dream yourself.
Yeah, and I get that. I listen to you a lot. I tune into your podcast every day, no matter who's not watching, I'm watching.
I appreciate that.
So at the end of the day, a lot of the things that you implement, like within your system, how you created sports psychology solution, the numerous conversations that we have outside of basketball. So it just allows me to maneuver and understand, like, you have to bet on yourself first before you bet on anybody else or anybody else going to bet on you.
Yeah, sure. So going forward, with you having this ground zero look and influence on basketball today, whether it's representing the Metro Detroit area or just basketball throughout the country, where are we at with the state of basketball in Detroit, Michigan, United States, and throughout the world? I know you got some global experience too.
Well, definitely. My thing is, by me having the global European coaching experience, I think the groundwork, I tell my kids, there's kids 15 or 16 in other countries are supporting their families and villages by getting a check from a basketball ball club overseas, and they're coming over here to take our scholarships as well as our NBA spots. So I always implement.
So they're almost being better prepared wherever they are somewhere else in the world to come here to take advantage of it.
It's kind of because basketball is so global, and that's what I'm trying to get the kids that I coach to realize. I mean, winning is okay, you know what I'm saying, but getting better on a daily basis. And when I create a small basketball, it's like we do what separates us. Correct. And from there, the international game is here. So that's one thing our kids in high school as well as in college have to understand. You have a Luka Doncic coming over. Boy. And he didn't even have to go to college, but you looking at the college All-American kid that might not get drafted because Doncic got his spot.
And he's so ready. I don't care how you feel about him. His game is so solid. He's here like a veteran.
Yeah. And because he's in those programs,
those club programs, and just
like Belgrade Partizan, or you got Khimki in Russia, you have Nancy in France, you have a lot of these global entities that's basically making the high school programs kind of depleted over here. You have these prep schools that children go to, which is okay, but at the end of the day, back in our day, it was like you had to come out of your high school, you had to come out of PAL, you had to come out of an entity where it was a family environment, but you learn how to play the basics. And that's what I think the state of high school is right now. You have kids transferring to go play here. You have if you don't lock down, it's kind of like in business. If you don't lock down your local area, who's gonna respect you outside of that?
How can you grow outside of that? You can't imagine.
I mean,
that's a good point, and I want to kind of touch on that. Two things on that point about that. I think people get so caught up, whether it's talking about what we're talking about or in business in general, with this big broad reach, and they seem to overlook